Take 362. Hi everyone, welcome to my very first YouTube video. Had the channel now 13 years. Decided it was time I stepped in front of the camera intentionally. Made a few cameos in other people's videos, but this time I thought I'll pull my finger out and get a video done and shot myself. I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe. I don't know where I've stuck it, down there or maybe here, probably here. So yeah, subscribe, like, share, please comment. If you have met me before and know me, yeah, let me know what you think of the beard. All part of my COVID face coverings that required. Although to be fair, it didn't actually work. I was sick for a couple of weeks just after Christmas with the virus, but being young and strong, yeah, wasn't too bad at all actually. Fairly relaxing. Anyway, enjoy the video, let me know. Okay, so this first video is just going to be a little bit of an explanation of how I got to my naming for my snakes. I have got some of my favourite snakes, actually I'll tell you some of the names in a minute, but how my naming system has developed over the last 15 plus years, from something fairly simple, literally simple pet names, through to a coding system, all the way through to the naming method I use now. In fact, this snake here is one of my favourites. It's got a very fancy name of hashtag 130. As you can see, I think it's actually a beautiful snake, and the name fits it quite well. Okay, so as you could probably tell, I'm not a big one for giving my snakes pet names. Kind of two reasons really. First and foremost, the collection's just too big and I'm not that inventive with names, so I would struggle to come up with that many individual names. And then kind of on a side note, I really struggle for some reason with names, especially names and faces. So people who know me, if you ever say hello and I look blankly at you, I'm just struggling to remember names. Please don't take it personally. Just give me a little reminder of where we met and it'll all come flooding back, no problem at all. Anyway, back with the naming system. Right at the very beginning, when I got my first snakes, I kind of got quite excited with the different morphs. Believe it or not, I was lucky enough to get pastels right at the very beginning. Back then we used to differentiate between different lines of pastels, and my specific pastels, Graziani pastels. So my coding for those would have been GP. I also put a year on there, so my first ones would have been GP03. Then I had M for male and F for female, so it would be GP03, F1, F2 and F3. I had that for quite a few of my original snakes. So I had a P03, M1, so my pied male, M1. Het pied would have been HP, and so on. But within a few months I realised that is going to get quite confusing and difficult the more genes we start putting into the individual animals. It also was hard for me to, I guess this might go back to my poor memory, but did I put the letter C for cinnamon or was the letter C for clown? So as you can see, it got a bit too complicated, too confusing, right even in the early days, and that was before we were putting 6-7 genes into a snake. So I kind of scrapped that system pretty quick. The coding was just too much. I dropped down to a more simpler code, which was literally M for male, then I would have the year, and then I would have the male number. So it would just be sequential numbering going up for that year. Again, that was kind of more complicated than it needed to be. I probably run with that system for maybe a season. I then dropped down to even simpler still and done away with the year. On a day-to-day basis, I don't need to know the year on the snake's reference number. It's just, you just don't need it. It's good to refer back to for data, but not on a day-to-day maintenance. What I also realised was I was collecting lots of data on paper, record cards, wall planners, diaries, whatever. And the data itself was just it was fascinating and interesting, but it was totally unhelpful because I couldn't compare one snake to another or even look over several years easily. So about 6 years ago, I decided to switch all my data over and collect everything onto an Excel spreadsheet. And at that time, I decided now's the right time to change over my coding yet again. And I went for a really complicated, difficult code. Some of you might struggle with, but I'll give it a go to explain. I started off with, and bear with me, I started off with the number 1. That was the first snake, then number 2, then number 3, number 4, number 5. I don't know whether you're picked up on the pattern here. I'll go through it again, or you can send me a message, but number 5, number 6, and so on. This is 632, 633, 634. So as you can see, I dropped away from having the year. I dropped the sex off of there. It's just a reference number. That number started at number 1, so I moved the whole collection over and renumbered them. If a snake leaves the collection for whatever reason, that number becomes vacant. It stays assigned to that snake. So historically, if I look on the spreadsheet for snake number 1, it will still be listed, but it might not be in the collection. But I can still very easily look at the data. With that system, it's very, very easy to just keep adding to it. And you'll be surprised just how quickly you start remembering which number is which snake. As I showed earlier, number 130, one of my favourites, Ghost Stripe Mojave. Back to the video on the tub specifically. So within this video, I'm going to show you what I do for the layout on my tub identification, the snake naming, and how the front of my tubs work. I'm very, very conscious of trying to keep the tubs clean and tidy. I really don't like post-it notes or any form of writing on top of the tubs. I just like everything clean and uniform the same. So if you look around the whole room, you'll see it's all very uniform, very tidy and clean in terms of the front of the tubs. So this video will show you how I get to that point. We'll also go through on the video on how I keep simple records. So these tubs are actually set up for my original record system, which was all kept on the tubs itself using just these discs. So if I now show you the front of the tub and talk you through the layout of the front of my tub, hopefully you'll understand why and how simply it all flows together. Okay, so here we have an example of the front of our tubs. Every one of our tubs is set up exactly the same. We have 2 labels on there and some Velcro discs and 2 counters as standard. I'll zoom in on this label in the front there. There we go. So you can see there 632 is the reference number for that snake. We then have a description of the snake itself. I don't use the morph names for any of my snakes particularly. I just try and stick to the actual genes involved. It's just easier for me to deal with when I'm pairing up. We then have male or female written underneath. And then something that we introduced this year, we have the parentage. So you can see the heritage of that snake. On there you can see that it was a super pastel Enchi lesser calico male 102 times pastel female 221. So we found that very useful. It helps us know exactly all the genes that have been involved in that snake. We may try and add the grandparents onto there at some point in the future. On the other label, so on the barcode label, you can see that that literally just has a reference of the 632. So if that barcode is scanned, the computer will read that as 632. And that's what we use for adding all of the information onto the computer. With regards to the Velcro discs, we have 2 key locations. We have the central location, which tells us what's happening right now. So that's the action position. So if we was to put a male in there, it would have a disc to say there's a male. So we know that that's got male 569. So again, if we put that male in there and then scan that tub, it will update the records to say that male 569 has been introduced to female 632. Alternatively, if we're feeding, we'd put the green tag into the centre, and that tells us there's food in the cage. If it feeds, simply move the green tag to the bottom corner. If it doesn't feed, we put the green tag anywhere on the right hand side and we move a red tag. We then would go around afterwards, once we've done the whole collection, and we would literally scan everyone with a green tag. We can scan the entire colony, or the whole collection, in probably less than 2 minutes to update the feeding records or breeding records. So it's a very quick and simple system. Data entry, for instance, this is from a feeding record for these ones here. It's as quick and as simple as that is it. That's the data gone in for those 13 snakes, or the ones that are fed out of those 13 snakes. Bluetooth wireless scanner. I think it was about £120 off of Amazon. Just makes everything quick and simple for keeping track, knowing where you are with everything. We also use a blue tag, which would be, we use that for when we see a snake that's starting to build. So when we see a build, we put a blue tag over on the right hand side. So that tells us to keep an eye out for that female. Generally they've stopped feeding by then, so what you'd normally see is they stop feeding, you then notice the build, we then put the blue tag on the right hand side, which tells us to keep an eye out for an ovulation. Once they've ovulated, we move the blue tag to the centre. Once the snake's ovulated, it's not going to feed, and there's obviously no point breeding it either. So by having that blue tag in the centre, you can see that we can't feed it because the tag won't stick, and we can't obviously put a male tag on there because it won't stay there either. We keep that blue tag there all the way until she's laid a clutch of eggs. Once she's laid a clutch of eggs, we move the red tag over, we put the blue tag there, which tells us she hasn't eaten, but she's also laid a clutch of eggs. So we can concentrate on these girls more than the others. We keep an eye on that blue tag, and obviously we want to see that blue tag switching over back to green. In fact, once it's gone green, we remove the blue tag entirely. And that's that for that season for that snake. So that was my first video done. Took quite a long time. Not as easy as what those other guys make it look. Hats off to all the other guys already with videos up and running. Seriously, try standing in front of the camera and talking. For some reason that camera sucks all your words straight out of your mouth and out your brain. But anyway, hopefully this one wasn't too bad. Let me know what you think, and please subscribe, share and comment. Until next time, thanks a lot. Okay, just one little thing at the end of the video, just slip in, and why not? If anybody's after a high quality reptile mug, look at the quality of that, look. A screen printed high quality mug that. Anyway, I'm selling these, got a few to get rid of. $10.99 delivered, or 2 for $16.99. They work for coffee, they also work for tea. Bit more difficult, but for tea as well. Beer, you can drink beer out of them, or spirits. So full universal usage on these, not just coffee mugs like everybody else is using. These literally are multi-purpose. So again, tea mug, teacup, okay? Obviously coffee, beer, spirits, okay? Let me know if you want one.